So let's go ahead and dedicate our meditation to this spring renewal that's happening all around us. Just the tiny little inkling of the buds becoming blossoms and those seeds growing and sprouting and manifesting into beautiful new energy, new form, new life. Even though we're in the middle of March, it kind of feels like the first day of spring in terms of the sun coming out and a shift in the energy. And we want to celebrate that, celebrate the newness and the renewal, the resurrection, just the beauty of each season. Because without that deep release and death cycle, there wouldn't be the new. I don't think we really understand that and get that in our heart of hearts, right? How the life, death, life cycle is all connected and interacts with one another. And that is the transformation. That is the process of transformation, is life going from death to life again. And each stage is so essential and so beautiful. But the beauty of spring and the newness of spring and the energy that starts to bubble up and birth itself outward is a reflection of the inner manifestation. And when we see it that way, the inner growth mirroring the outer changes. It's such a beautiful, beautiful time to embrace the depths of that miracle. So let's just take a breath into that. And so with the new energies and the new activities and the new experiences that are coming, we also just welcome this deep sense of being in our awareness, our presence, our own energy field, and how it interacts with both the inner and outer realms. And just noticing is enough. Noticing how it feels, noticing what it looks like, noticing the effect of some of the situations around us will give it enough space to allow the light of our consciousness to shine through. And just in that process of observation, it changes. It may grow, it may dissolve, it may neutralize, but we don't need to control it or direct it. Just being with it is enough. And that can be the new practice for the spring, is to really get curious about exploring and experiencing your presence in a new way. Playing with the noticing, being aware of when you can observe and be neutral, and when does the charge of a thought or a situation drag you along with it and you lose yourself in it and believe it and experiencing it as real. And notice when you can regain your footing and your presence and pull yourself back and let that all be okay. Meet it with more graciousness, understanding, forgiveness, compassion than ever before, because judgment is just the same personality coming in through the back door. And notice what happens to the thoughts or the experience when you are just purely in your observation mode, where you can just be with it and notice it. It's such a different experience to let everything be exactly as it is without needing to fix it, change it, rearrange it, direct it. Those are all really fun playthings. And once we master the beauty of presence and the power of observation, then we can experiment with directing the energy and focusing our mind. But let's get really good at this presence practice. Observing, watching, noticing, without doing anything else. That is enough. Just being with it and your consciousness, the light of your consciousness shining on it is enough. It will miraculously change, rearrange, transform, dissolve, whatever it'll do. It's not because you had to do anything. It'll be done with you and for you and through you. But have that direct experience instead of it being a learned philosophy, someone else's perspective. Let it be your experience directly. And it was through my willingness to experiment and explore and get curious that I had a brand new relationship to it today that allowed me for the first time to drop into the quietude of no thought, a peaceful mind. And it's just for a moment. Presence is a moment. Present, moment to moment. Present point awareness. It changes in the next moment, and the next, and the next, and that's okay. As soon as you want to hold on to or attempt or try to recreate a thought or a state, then it is that same personality coming in the back door and trying to control or manipulate. And that's okay as well. It's just like when you're listening to the meditations and you invite yourself to just drop in, let the words wash over you, and you're just aware and present with them, with your breath, with your body. You don't need to try to understand, remember, or follow along with so much vigor. It's not an arduous process. You can let it be easy and flowing. You can find a new rhythm with it. So see what it's like to soften and open. To the easefulness of just noticing and being present with it all. Even these words. Notice what it's like to keep breathing and notice the breath. Watch the breath moving in and out, without having to make the breath or force the breath to do something. And yes, you can play with the breath and direct it, and that can be fun. But also notice that there is a part of your consciousness that we call awareness that is always there, observing, and being with absolutely no effort. And we as humans have spent so much of our lives and activities where there has been tremendous force and effort applied to be productive or to mold a desired outcome, to make things happen. And this higher self, a more intuitive part of ourselves, is so different that we want to get curious about what that's like, what that would be like. Just like we were imagining what it would be like to be in an environment that was so supportive, conducive for well-being and encouraging. And sometimes it just plays in our imagination because the external world can be so contrasting. So maybe the internal world around our thoughts are so different and contrasting that we have to really play in our imagination to access this higher mind and realize that when we completely relax, we float, that we're actually held within the sea of consciousness, and we certainly don't have to effort or struggle so hard to keep ourselves afloat. In fact, we float way better when we can fully let go into it and let it hold us. And that's such a beautiful analogy. So even when you're laying down and listening to the meditations, feel like you're floating on top of that sea of consciousness, and Source has got you. Source is that big fluffy cloud that you nestle down into, and it just carries you back home, to self, to Source, to love. Right? It allows you to feel as light as a feather, and covered in a warm cloak of love, like a warm nectar that embraces your entire being. And just bask and bathe in that feeling, because you are always being held and loved and surrounded within this liquid, electric, light love gel that I call the quantum field. It is completely transparent and invisible, and yet thick with energy, as if we're swimming in it. It's such a beautiful analogy. Carry that with you in your heart, in your imagination, in your mind, in your thoughts, that you are so held and loved and cradled on this path, guided. And feel this wave of love in the form of energy flowing through. Feel the gratitude and appreciation wash over you. Feel the love coming from Source. Feel the appreciation pouring down. Source is shining an extra big dose of this light love essence to you. Feel yourself filling up like it's pouring in, filling up a bathtub, pouring in through your pillar, pouring into your body of light, pouring into your roots and your branches, pouring into your satellite dishes, pouring into the portals. Even more. Notice that your body, your being, your breath can hold even more. There's no end to the expansion of how much energy we can hold and take in. It just keeps growing and growing as we strengthen these spiritual muscles. It's such a beautiful gift. And we'll just end by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Sending this love and gratitude back. Thank you, body. Thank you, breath. Thank you, being. Thank you, Source. Thank you, self. Thank you.